Today's question that needs answered is, why does everyone keep saying that we need to throw the podcast mics away? You just don't have to listen. You can go and watch whatever it is that you want to watch. If we want to have podcast mics, let us have our podcast mics. Please and thank you. Because I have a message that I want to share, as I am sure other people have messages that they want to share as well. Now, I know that you might not like those messages, and that's perfectly okay because everything ain't for everybody. But don't try to take away the things that make us happy now. Yeah, because I'm starting a podcast. I have started a podcast. If you are not new here, you may have seen that a few episodes now I've been doing podcast episodes, and I love it here. Okay? So, this is Fully Loving Yourself. My name is Sonia Star J. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. This is my podcast and my platform, and I love it. And I'm excited for the journey. And I'm praying that this is my thing. We will see. I have been feeling just a little bit discouraged on my content creator journey. And I don't never want to sound like I'm coming off like whiny or complaining, but that's sometimes how it could come off, right? But I've been kind of trying to find myself in the creator space. So I kind of want to talk about my journey as a content creator, how I landed on doing a podcast, why I, feel comfortable having this podcast, and the vision that I have for my content creator journey, and just some of the goals that I have with my channel and my podcast. If you're watching from the YouTube channel, you'll see that our lighting changed. Yeah, my battery died, but we're back in full effect. If you hear anything in the background, that is my dog. He is in the cage right now because he's having a little bit of some health issues. Got to take my baby back to the vet. But today I want to get into my content creator journey, how I landed on this decision of doing a podcast, like just my entire journey. So I feel like I've been a content creator before the term content creator was like actually a thing. I remember being in high school and sneaking and doing a MySpace and the top 10 and the music and the things falling from the background. Like, I was into all of that. I've been a nerd for online everything since I could be. Facebook was literally my stomping grounds. It still is. I'm trying to wean myself off of Facebook, but for as long as I can remember, I've been online. I did online dating when I was in high school. I think that's how I met one of my first boyfriends, but that is neither here nor there. I've just loved creating, and I didn't realize that I was a content creator until like a few years ago when the term really became big. But even when I was in college, I loved making flyers. I loved putting like the little graphics on my pictures. Like, there was just something that I did for fun. And I'll be honest that lately I have felt a little disconnected from being a content creator. I felt a little discouraged because I felt like things weren't working for me. And I felt like, well, dang, I'm seeing all these people do XYZ and get XYZ, and I've been doing this for so long. What am I doing wrong? Like, why am I not being successful on my content creator journey? And it kind of made me want to stop creating, in a sense. And I had to take a step back and remember why I started to create content. And I had to remember to put the fun back in content creation. Because it felt like when I started to do it for the visuals or for the perception of being a good content creator, I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being perceived. I was, nervous about the algorithm and nervous about all of these things. And I was just like, that's not why we do this. That's not why we started, So back in 2016, I started Fully Loving Yourself as like a wellness event idea, because I've always been into wellness and self-care, and I started out wanting to educate people on mental health. That's always been my thing. I went to college. My degree is in sociology and psychology. I have always loved trying to figure out people's brains and behaviors. Like, that is my jam. I started studying astrology when I was in high school. I just love to observe people. And any way I can do that. Like, I just recently started to get into astrocartography. Oh, and once I figured that out, I can't wait to talk about it. But that's just always been my thing. But when I was in high school, I was very, very, very creative. I was singing, I was dancing, I was modeling. Like, anytime anybody needed something done creatively, my hand was raised. When I was in youth church, that's how I got the name Star, because the pastor's wife, who's my godmom, she was like, you're going to be a star. Like, you have what it takes to be this big star, and I carried that with me forever now. Because I just always loved to do creative things. I liked to draw. When I was younger, I would draw people, I would draw houses, I would just draw anything. I still have my designs upstairs. I would draw clothes, and I was a dancer. In one of my previous episodes, I talked about how much I loved dancing, y'all. Like, I literally moved the furniture out of the kitchen and started dancing like B2K in the middle of the kitchen floor. I just knew that I was fitting to be in a B2K movie. I just knew that I was going to be Chris Brown's background dancer. Like Taylor Terry, that was supposed to be me. Sis took my job, okay? She life swapped with me. But that's just how I feel. And so I just knew that I was meant to be a creative person, but I was told that I had to pick a reasonable career. I had to pick something that made sense. And so I went to school for sociology and psychology with the goal of going to school to be a therapist. And like I said in the other video, I realized I didn't want to be no therapist, but I was good at giving people tips and advice and educating people. And I went on to become a counselor. And while I was a counselor, I was a transitional life skills coach for foster youth and homeless youth. And 3 years into that role, I realized that I wanted to do communications. I didn't know that communications was like a thing, even though I actually took some communication classes while I was in college, now that I think about it. But communications as a career, I didn't know that was a thing until I got to be 29. That's when I started like kind of dibbling and dabbling in different things outside of social work, because I just knew that my life's purpose was to serve and to be a caseworker and a case manager. And I'm just like, it was fulfilling to me to be able to give back in that way, but I knew that something was missing. I was missing being creative. And so I started doing creative things for the company that I was at. I was doing videos, I was doing graphics, I was putting together events. And then I asked the director, I was like, I would really love to work in the development and communications department. Is there any way that you all can create a role for me? And they were like, yeah, no, we can't do that at this time. And that was really disheartening, because I really loved working there, but I knew that I needed to follow my passion. I needed to be fulfilled in a way that I just wasn't being fulfilled. So I started a blog, and that blog was more so personal. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was trying to learn how to really run the blog from like Facebook tips and things, but that wasn't really successful. So I transitioned my blog from WordPress over to Wix, and then I just stopped writing. And the period of that time as well, I wrote my first poetry book. Well, I published my first poetry book. The poems were already written from years of accumulating poetry that I had written. And I just knew that I wanted to do more. I just didn't know what that more was. So I was taking dancing classes, and I was like trying to do different things. And so after I did the blog and the blog didn't really work, I kind of sat that down, and that was in 2017. Then I switched it over to Wix, maybe 2019. And then TikTok happened. TikTok and YouTube happened. So in 2020, no, maybe in 2019, actually. In 2019, I realized that one of my homegirls was doing YouTube, and I didn't know that YouTube was like a thing like that. I was doing YouTube when I was in college, but I actually totally forgot that I was doing YouTube when I was in college. And I knew that we like uploaded like our dance routines and stuff to the platform, but I never took it like seriously, like a thing to actually pour my time and attention into. Like, I just didn't realize that that was a thing. And I was just so involved with Facebook because that's where my community was at. I didn't think to build community anywhere else. I never really got into Instagram because I didn't really like being perceived like that, and I'm not really the best at taking pictures like that. I just never got into the Instagram type of pictures, and I feel like Instagram kind of made me a little bit insecure because it seemed like everything was perfect over there, and I'm just like, I got blemishes and rolls. I don't fit in over here. So that didn't work for me. So when I was working at the other job, I realized that my homegirl was doing YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know. Then the pandemic happened, and was on TikTok and then on YouTube, and I had seen a video of Kelly Stamps, and she was talking about like why you need to start a YouTube channel and all of those things and the YouTube tips. And so I was, talking to my homegirl that has a YouTube channel, and telling her like, I really think this is cool. Like, I want to do this. She was like, you totally should. Like, you have a great personality. I think that you would thrive at this. And I'm just like, you know what? Hell yeah, you're right. I would thrive at this. And so I made a goal. I was like, for my 30th birthday, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And that was really big for me, because I always kept myself hidden. Like, I wouldn't post to be seen like that. I would post on Snapchat because it felt kind of like a secret, like not everybody was looking at your Snapchat and commenting on it, like that just wasn't the thing. And then with like Instagram, because I wasn't really big on Instagram and I didn't really use it like that, I really was just on Instagram posting videos in my stories. But that was just like for me and like my friends and my family. So I never really considered being perceived by people who didn't know me, because like Facebook is a family and friends platform. It just didn't ever dawn on me to be perceived by a whole lot of people. I don't know if I ever have been comfortable with that. Like, I still am working to get comfortable with being perceived by a lot of people on YouTube. Like, when I had a video go viral a few months ago, I think I like ghosted the platform, because I'm just like, oh my goodness, 50,000 people over here looking at me. Like, I know that that's a possibility, and my goal is to reach a lot of people with my message. But then when it happens, it's like, oh snap, like people are actually talking to me and seeing me, and oh, that's a little bit kind of scary, but I started YouTube with the idea that I could reach a lot of foster kids because I have a history in foster care, and my goal has always been to educate foster kids and to teach them that they can have a good life, they can have a better life, and they can, despite everything that we've gone through and everything that happens to us in the system, like, you can beat the odds. That's always been my thing, and I wanted to teach people about mental health and physical health because I was an athlete in high school and then I was a dancer in college. So I just always wanted to teach people about health and wellness, and that kind of tied into self-care once I started learning about self-care in the way that I understand self-care, not like the bubble baths and all of that, stuff that people look at as self-care, which is really self-maintenance. But like true internal and external self-care, mindset stuff, financial stuff, like I wanted to teach all of the things that I was teaching my youth in the program. I wanted to teach that on a major platform. I wanted to be able to reach hundreds of thousands of young people and teach them about financial literacy, about health and hygiene. Like that was my initial goal. But it was really scary to be sitting here talking to a camera. And now I feel more comfortable doing it, but it has taken me a lot of time to get comfortable with doing it. I oftentimes overthink a lot of my content. I overthink my thoughts before I sit down to record. And I felt like that came through, like that shone through. I felt like you could see it. And that made me very self-conscious whenever I would record and people would tell me like, oh, I watched your video. And I'm like, oh, snap, you really be watching my stuff? Like, it's like, yeah, I want people to watch my stuff, but it's a little bit nerve-wracking when it actually happens, but I love it. I really, really do, because I feel like that's my purpose. I've always had this knack of talking and giving advice and good advice and very insightful. And I have a friend who always tells me like she loves the questions that I ask. I'm a really good inquisitive conversationalist. Like I really be asking people deep personal questions that I don't even know if they thought about. And at some point I want to introduce that to the podcast. I just don't know how I'm going to integrate that into like how we do things on here. But that is something that I do want to do. So knowing all of these things about me, that is what I wanted the YouTube channel to be about. But then during COVID, I started getting depressed, and I didn't really have it in me to like give tips and stuff. Like I just, it was a really sad time. I was going through a lot health wise. My husband was going through a lot. My youth was going through a lot. I'm like, how can I sit here and give tips on how to, live this life when I got these young people here? We can't even find them a place to live. Like we can't even figure out how they're going to pay their rent. We can't even figure out how they're going to eat this week. I can't sit here and be encouraging to people when I'm struggling to encourage the people that I'm working with. I'm struggling to encourage myself on a daily. I'm stuck in this house and I can't see my kids, like the kids that I work with. I was stressed out. And so I tried to push through and do content on stuff that I was interested in, like social commentary and how to stay positive and, self-care vlogs, even though I ain't really know how to do vlogs. But I was just doing stuff that I seen on the platform that performed well and things that I wanted to talk about. But internally, I was really going through it, and trying to figure out how to make this work. And also with, doing TikTok, trying to figure out how to grow on TikTok, because everybody's like, oh, go on TikTok, blow up on TikTok. And I'm just like, well, this isn't working for me. Like, why isn't this working for me? And so then I started having like a whole lot of imposter syndrome because none of my platforms were growing. Like even with my YouTube channel, I watched so many people who started the same time as me on YouTube literally blow past me. I'm talking, I'm at 2K, they at 100K. And I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? And that has always kind of like been in my head, like, what am I doing wrong? What am I not doing right? And that made me really sad and discouraged. Like I would constantly delete the YouTube Studio app because I'm just like, this isn't making me feel good. And so I'm like, okay, well, what does the algorithm want, or what does my audience want? And then eventually I had a video take off about my fibroid journey because it got suggested from somebody else's video, but not because like people were looking for it or were interested in it or anything. Like, it's just been really slow growth for me on all of my platforms, and it just has never seemed like I could figure it out. And that has been really discouraging. But I'm not going to give up because I really love what I do. Like, I really love talking about the stuff that I talk about. And even when people say, like, oh, if it's not working, if the niche that you're in isn't working, maybe you should switch niches. And I'm like, I honestly could not see me talking about anything else other than social media. Like, I love talking about social media. I love talking about analytics, but I love talking about health and wellness and personal development. I truly love improving myself and helping other people to learn how to improve themselves and to develop their mind, bodies, and spirits. Like, that's what gets me going every single day. It's what I think about all the time. All day, every day, I'm thinking about what I want to create. I'm thinking about new ideas, what I want to write about, what I want to talk about. Like, this is really in me, and I can't see me doing anything else or talking about anything else just because it's more financially rewarding. I'll get up and I'll go to my job if, I need to be financially rewarded, but the things that I want to share on here are things that I truly, truly believe that people need to hear and learn about. Like, my journey and my story is going to help somebody one day. And that's what matters to me, is the imprint that I'm leaving on the world and on the people who come in contact with me. And there have been times where I've made content that was like trending, or content that where I felt like I need to make this type of video, or I need to, talk about this. And I'm just like, I know me, and I feel like you can tell when a person's not being like genuine or like not comfortable with something or not confident with something. So if I'm coming and I'm talking about a topic that I don't truly feel confident in, that's going to show, And so the way that I've been showing up on YouTube and like sit down, do the tip videos in 15 minutes, like, that is cool. And I recognize that that's kind of like the niche that I would be in, but it just never felt comfortable for me. I always felt like I was performing. It just never gave genuine, authentic for me. It always felt like I was like performing, and I didn't like that. And so moving forward, like, it's 2025, child. Last year, 2024, I told my husband, I think I should start a podcast. I know that everybody is saying, oh, we got too many podcast mics, we got too many people, talking. But I'm just like, even if there are too many podcasts, there ain't too many of me. Like, there is not nobody in this world who got my story and could tell it the way that I tell it, and who've been through the things that I've been through the way that I've been through them. So I deserve to be able to tell my story the way that I want to, and the person who's going to be impacted by my story deserves to hear it. And so my husband got me the podcast set up for my birthday last year, and I struggled with setting it up, and I couldn't figure out the lighting. I couldn't figure out the setup. I couldn't figure out the audio. Like, I still don't know if the audio sounds as good as it should, because it has like this muffled static sound, and I'm just like, this is not working. And so I gave up for quite some time. And so I was just filming my regular videos, and I'm just like, no, this does not feel good. It does not feel like what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know it was a period of time I was like doing cooking videos, because I do love to cook, but that was so stressful. And I was just like, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do content, I don't want to do it in a way that makes me stressed out. Like, no, that doesn't feel good. And I would just continue to give up. And that's what I was doing. I would start and I would do well for a while, and then I would give it up because it didn't feel good. It felt like I was just feeding the machine just to have something to say, just to have something out there. And I'm just like, this doesn't feel good. I feel like I'm adding value to my audience, but am I really? Like, is it really coming from my heart? Like, the ideas are, but I'm like, I feel like I'm not giving my 100% myself. And I ain't like that. And so when I started listening to podcasts and realizing, like, wait, anybody can really do this. Like, I know that, people say whatever they say, but I really enjoy this. And I really love talking. I love sharing stories. And that's what it came down to for me. I was like, how do I share my story without being like ultra self-centered? I want people to learn from my journey, but how do I do that? Because they say, well, like, when you do YouTube videos, don't make it you-centered. And I'm like, I don't know what else to talk about besides myself and the things that I've been through. That's what I want to talk about. I want to share my life stories with people so that somebody can learn from my mistakes or learn from my successes. That's what I want to do. And I don't want to be confined to heavy editing. I don't want to edit out my emotions. I want to be able to cry and be vulnerable and bare my soul if I so feel like I need to in that moment. I just want to show up and be myself. And that's when I realized, I was like, podcasting might be it for me. I do see that, people are moving towards podcasting, but that just lets me know that I'm on the right track. Like, I'm making a good move for me and my life, even if it's not like a financial thing, because I know that there's money in content creation, even if I ain't seen it yet. In the last, I don't even know how many years I've been doing it. I think I've been really taking content creation serious in the last, I'll say 2 years, because I started in 2020 just like, this is what I want to do. I want to, share stuff with people, but it was never like, I want to make money from this. I had that idea. Well, no, because when me and my husband talked about it, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom at that point in time, but then I was just like, do I even want kids? So it's like, it's been a back and forth type of thing. The thing was, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. What am I going to do while I'm at home? Because I don't want to just be sitting here. I do want to do something that's creative and fun, and YouTube is just that thing for me. And so now with that, now I'm learning about like Substack and like Spotify and all these things. And I'm like, that's more my speed, because TikTok was very stressful for me. Learning how to do short form content was so overwhelming and stressful for me, trying to do those day in the life videos and just like being perceived, talking. Like, I didn't want to be a TikTok yapper. Like, I wanted to be, one of the girls who did the day in the lives, but from a health and wellness perspective, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to be perceived as a yapper on TikTok, but that's the type of content that did well over there for me, if I'm being honest. But I was nervous about being perceived on there, because it's like, as a Black woman, you have to have a certain aesthetic to show up over there. But I guess maybe I went the wrong route in that, because listen, there's content creators that started and still are on that platform in their bonnet. But I also think about long-term trajectory wise, as far as being brand safe, like I do want to build my own brand, and I do want to work with other brands. Like I really know that I can be somebody and take this somewhere. Like when I was younger, I wanted to be like Oprah, and not like I wanted to be a billionaire or anything. I wanted to tell people stories. Like I wanted to hear people tell their stories to the world and give them a platform to do so. And I wanted to cry with people, and I wanted to have vulnerable moments with people. And I just wanted to, I wanted to shift the culture in the health and wellness space. And I know like we have podcasts now like Jay Shetty and Diary of a CEO and stuff like that. But I'm like, I want to be a Black woman who brings people's stories and pains and successes to the forefront. And I don't know how I'm going to do that, but my husband always says, he's like, you know what? You could be Oprah. You could be the next Oprah. And I'm like, I'm glad that you said it, because I never told him about, when I was younger, I wanted to be like Oprah until he said it. He was like, I could really see you doing that. My grandma says the same thing. My grandma's like, you're really talented and you're really beautiful and you could be whatever you want to be, all these things. And I'm just like, you know what? Hell yeah. Because I can be. And I've had to learn to get over my fear of being seen. I've had to learn to get over, the fear of being judged and perceived by my family and my friends or people on the internet, because people on the internet are mean. And like I said, as a Black woman, if you don't have a certain aesthetic, they're not really finna listen to you, and I never really fit into that aesthetic. I'm not a beauty girl. Like I'm a pretty woman. I know that when when I'm ready to tear it up, I can tear it up and do all the things, but that's not really my lane. And my entire life, I struggled with fitting in different places. I could never find my place. Like I could never find my tribe. Even now as an adult, I have different friend groups for different things. I just never was able to find my thing. And so when I went to Culture Con in October of last year, I met a lot of content creators, and I'm just like, I still don't feel like I fit in here. And it's because I need to open my mouth and talk. I need to start telling people my thoughts and my feelings and letting people hear what I got going on and not being afraid to be vulnerable. That's something that I actually processed through with my therapist. She was just like, you want something, but you're pushing it away out of fear. And because you're doing that, you're not getting the actual thing that you want, is because you are not allowing yourself to be vulnerable because you're afraid of what people are going to do with that vulnerability. And so that made me realize that I was also doing that with my content. I was keeping a very surface level with the tips that I was giving, not really going too deep, not want to share too much about my life, not want to share too much about anything, because I don't want people coming over here judging me. I don't want, to go viral and people be talking about, oh, she used to do this. This is what, like I just never wanted that type of attention. But I recognize that with the gift that God has given me and placed on my life and in my heart, I can't care about that. Like if I'm going to get wherever it is that I'm destined to go to, I can't care about what people are going to say. I can't care about what people are saying or how they feel about what my content is. There was a time where I posted some video and somebody in my family didn't agree with it, and they made a comment about it, and I was just like, oh damn, maybe should I take the video down? And I caught myself doing that a lot of times, like, oh, well, if they don't agree with my perspective, maybe I should just private it. Maybe I should just take it down. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want nobody to feel like I'm being mean. I don't want nobody to feel XYZ. And I'm just like, girl, no, them is your thoughts and your feelings, and they'll get over it because you're entitled to that, And so that's why I'm allowing myself to be more vulnerable with podcasting. It is going to be a very scary ride for me because this is something that I truly want to do. I want to get to the point where I have the, the big studio and the lights and the production team. Like, I want that. I want to be able to have guests where we sit here and we chop it up and we cry together and we talk together and we share stories of hope and resilience and love. Like, I want that for this platform. I want to be able to share my life. I want other people to have the opportunity to share their lives with y'all and to just build something that's really beautiful. Like Oprah, she did do her big one, when she was in her prime with her radio show and the TV show, all of those things. And people, they say what they say and they feel how they feel. But when I think about the impact that I want to make on the world, that's what I want to do. Like, I've been through so much and I've gotten through so much. And one day I'll talk about it. I do give bits and pieces here and there, but I truly want to create something that inspires people. I want people to come to this platform and get something every single time that they come. I want people to walk away feeling full, feeling enlightened, feeling inspired. I want people to laugh. I want people to experience joy. Like, I just want people to feel good coming here. And even if they come and something that I say triggers them, I hope and pray that it triggers them to do something better in their lives. Like, if I say something about a group of people or say something, opinion of mine that doesn't really sit with somebody the right way, I pray that they're able to use that as a stepping stone to get to a different place, or to maybe at least reflect on why it triggered them. I just really want to create something beautiful. That's just really what I want. And so, yeah, that's just where I'm at now. I'm done with being afraid, maybe. Initially, I had wanted to call this podcast Her Pink Mic and Pajamas, because obviously I have a pink mic and I'm wearing pajamas, because I want it to be like comfortable, cozy. Like, I don't want to have to show up in aesthetics. Like, I'm really trying to be anti-aesthetic with this. I know at some point I'm going to have to graduate, and so that's why I didn't name it Her Pink Mic and Pajamas. But for right now, I just really wanted to show up as myself the best way that I can. And this is what makes me comfortable. Sitting here on my couch with my hair out, with, not a real beat on my face, and just in my jammies. And we just talking and we just kicking it and talking about some real stuff. Because things get heavy in life, you know what I mean? And I just want it to be like we kicking it with our homegirl and we having conversations about real things that we go through. And I just pray that my channel and my content reaches the right people. I will say that what has held me back as a content creator has been marketing, and the fact that I'm not really very consistent with like uploading short form content, and also maybe me taking breaks on social media has been the reason why I haven't grown as much as I feel like I should have. Because I don't feel like my content is bad. I just feel like it's been all over the place and people don't really know what they're coming over here for. And so now moving forward, it's like I have more of an idea of the direction that I want to go in with this channel and with this podcast. So on here, I will be sharing like the podcast episodes. Then I have a story life where I share my vlogs and stuff. And I'll also be sharing the podcast on Substack, where I'll also be doing newsletters. I'm trying to figure out like what I want the newsletters to be, because in my heart of hearts, I want to do a novel. Like, I want to write like juicy tales and stories and stuff like I used to, but something in me is just like, no, you need to be doing like, stories about like life and all that. So I'm just trying to get out of my head and trying to not let the imposter syndrome get in my way in 2025 and beyond. I just really want to show up as my full self in my creative space. I'm trying to get rid of like the blockages that I have that keeps me procrastinating, and then just keeps me, kind of stuck a little bit. Cause it's like I experienced like small growth, but I think it's just preparing me for what's to come. And I'm ready for it. And I'm grateful for the journey. I'm grateful for the people that have stuck around as I've tried to figure out what I want to do with this platform. I hope people know that I'm doing this for the right reasons, because I truly am. And one thing that my husband has always said to me is that on this journey, because of the type of person that I am, because I'm a really nice person, I have to guard my heart, and I have to learn to establish boundaries. And so I also think that that's maybe why I haven't gotten to a point where I could be, is because God is preparing my heart to have certain boundaries, because I'm a very nice person, and I get sad a lot. And he told me I gotta develop thick skin in order to be on social media, because I'll be one of those people that just like get my feelings hurt and just disappear, honey. And that can't happen, because I really need to go forward with this thing so that I can bring to life all of the things that I want to bring to life. Like, I want to get into film and entertainment. I want to produce movies. Like, I want to write movies. Like, I have so much that I want to do. And I know that by starting somewhere, which has been here the last going on 5 years now, like, I've just been putting in the reps. That's just what it is. I just been putting in the reps and putting in the time to get confident in my speaking, because that's something that I've been struggling. Like, I really struggle with. I would get anxious sitting down and talking to this camera, like, oh my goodness, I gotta make sure I say this, make sure I say that. And even when I would use a script, I'm like, I don't want it to sound too scripty. I don't want it to, I want to just be real, and I just want to be raw. And that's what I've been able to do with this podcast. Like, I'll have a topic that I want to talk about, and then I could just go off the dome and just talk, and y'all could just chime in and feel me. I think that sometimes I will want to go live. I don't know what that looks like just yet. I'm still figuring out the background technical stuff. I'm still trying to figure that part out. But I think I know now the direction that I'm supposed to be going in, and this is it. Like, I truly love it. I cannot wait to just do like my rebrand and just like have more people involved. Like, I'm really excited about the future of this. Yeah, I really am. And so, our lesson of the week. One second. What is our lesson of the week? The lesson of the week is do what feels right for you, despite what everybody else has to say about it. If you have anybody in your ear telling you that you won't be good at something or you shouldn't do something, go with your gut, follow your intuition. When I was working at that job with being a caseworker, my supervisor had actually told me, if you're going to be doing YouTube, you can't work here anymore. Like, you're going to have to leave the company. And that hurt me, because that was one of my closest friends. And I was just like, well, what does that even mean? And during that time, I was really hurt, But then I thought about it from two different perspectives. I couldn't have stayed there and did this the way that I needed to and the way that I wanted to, because my kids, not my clients, but the people that I work with, they found me on social media. So it's like, I couldn't be who it was that I needed to be for them and be who I needed to be for this. I felt like when she said that, it was kind of like on some hate and shit. But after a while, I realized that God needed me to move around so that I could grow in my purpose. And I'm still connected with who I need to be connected with. and from that period of time in my life. But she was right. If I was going to grow and be who I am called to be, I couldn't have stayed there. And now I'm in a much better space. I'm more confident in my content creation. I'm more confident in my career. Like, I'm a big dog now, and I'm excited for where I am. And while that hurt me, when she said that to me, I was just like, okay, I have to do what's right for me. And I have to do what's right in my heart. And I know that this is what I want to do. And so if that means leaving this job, then that's just what I'm going to have to do. It hurt me. That was one of the biggest decisions I ever had to make, because I really loved that company. I loved my team and I loved my kids. But I knew that I had to fulfill my purpose. And here we are, 4.5 years later, still trying to bring the dream alive. And so I just pray that if you have a dream and you're listening to this, that you go after it and you don't let nothing get in your way. Do what feels good to you, what feels right for you. If you got something that you want to do, don't let nobody mess that up. Yeah. And so our affirmation for the week, un momento. I trust my intuition and I honor my needs. I am guided by what feels aligned and true for me, knowing that prioritizing myself is an act of self-love and empowerment. And so I pray that you take that with you throughout this week and you do what you need to do. Oh, and I didn't even do our quote of the day when we first started. So our quote of the day is, don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice, by Steve Jobs. I will leave y'all with that, loved ones. And as always, be bold, be joyful, and always be fully loving yourself. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.